You've been doing this for how many years now?
Nearly 20 years.
And you were in the military before that, doing it for even longer, working for the Army.
It was the Army, yep.
So, like, is out of all this experience, have you ever actually won a case that you thought you were going to lose?
Oh, I've done it all so many times, right? You can't predict them anymore. You just can't predict them. So we go in and it's like a bell curve, right? So the way I talk to clients about this, is if you think about the bell curve, right? A statistical bell curve. A majority of cases, and I don't know what the statistical significance of this, but a majority of cases you can say, yeah, we know what the facts are. We know how this is likely going to play out, and we have a high probability of winning this case. On the other side of it is we can say, hey, we've got a really bad probability of winning this case, and you may need to think about an alternate resolution or a plea deal. But there are always outliers with everything we do. So there are oftentimes cases where, there's no good plea agreement on the table. We try the case, and we just try the case we have and go in there and fight like hell to win it. And so I've had cases with confessions, DNA, CCTV footage where you're like, how the hell are we going to win this? We just go in there and fight like hell. And we've had cases where we've won them. And that's phenomenal. And that does happen. So you can win the unwinnable case, so to speak. On the other hand, it can work the other way too. I've had cases where we're very confident going into trial, where we think that there's a high probability of winning a case. We try a very good case, but the verdict goes against us. That happens as well. And any lawyer that doesn't admit that happens on both sides is just not shooting you straight and just not being honest with you. So a jury trial is always a significant risk for any client. And you have to understand that because, if you lose a jury trial in a criminal case, you're probably going to prison. You're going to have a conviction on your record. You may be a sex offender. It is high stakes and very high risk. And so certainly there are cases where, we've won them and didn't think we would. And there are cases where we've lost them and said, what the hell was that? And there's everything in between. But for the most part, they're somewhat predictable in terms of, you kind of have a good idea of what's going to happen going in, but there are always cases that are outliers. And the longer you do this, the more cases you try, the more often that happens, which is why I always go back to risk and, for client explaining what risk is and the risk they're going to take, because that's something that they need to be aware of.